stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. Good evening, I'm Sharon Mascarenas.
I'm Wayne Hetiarachi and here are today's headlines.
A 28% increase in the number of student admissions to the universities in the past 4 years. The State Minister of Defence says the emergency has been withdrawn after seeking opinions of the security chiefs. Minister Patali Champikaranamaka says President Maithripala Sirisena is the only leader who took direct measures to resolve the garbage problem. The central bank says Sri Lankan rupee has been strengthened. An Iranian representative at the G7 summit to the amazement of the USA.
Now for those and more stories in detail. President Maithripala Sirisena says admission of students to universities has increased by 28% in the past 4 years. He further says the rulers should have a correct vision on the future and education of children. The President made these remarks participating in the inauguration ceremony of the 13th State University Sports Festival this afternoon. The host of the current tournament is Ruhunuri University. The President, however, handed over the official flag symbolizing the commencement of the sport event. More than 7,000 competitors representing 14 universities take part in 22 events. The tournament will be conducted from tomorrow till the 7th of next month. President Maithripala Sirisena said that students' intake to universities in 2013-2014 was restricted to 24,198. He added that, however, the number has increased to 31,158 in 2018-2019. The President added that this growth of 28%. He further said that it is necessary to increase the number of student admissions to the faculties of medicine, engineering and technical sciences. As a result, more new facilities have been set up in every university and necessary facilities provided. He also said steps have been taken to introduce new graduates and postgraduate courses. The President further said that Mahapola scholarship has been increased to 5,000 rupees from 2,500 rupees. He also said that they are joining hands with intellectuals in the respective fields to enhance the quality of education in universities. The President said that the per capita income, which was at $3,821 in 2014, has been increased to $4,060. The President also said that there has been qualitative change in school education as well. Today, there are 100% participation in students pursuing primary education. The participation of students in the secondary education sector is also at a higher level of 99%.
ගත්තිට ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම විශ්වවිද්‍යාල සඳහා අපි රජයක් විදියට කර ඇති ආයෝජන ඉතාමත් විශිෂ්ටයි කියා මා විශ්වාස කරනවා. ඒ වගේම තමයි මා විශ්වාස කරනවා. දෙමව්පියන්ගේ දරුවන්ගේ සහ ආචාර්ය ගුරුවරු ඔබගේ ඒ දරුවන් පිළිබඳව අධ්‍යාපනයේ තිබෙනා වූ බලාපොරොත්තු වලට වඩා ඉහළ බලාපොරොත්තුවක් දරුවන්ගේ අනාගතය සහ අධ්‍යාපනය පිළිබඳව.
Mahasangha, including Chancellor of the Ruhuni University, Venerable Akuratiya Nandathera, Southern Province Governor Hemal Gunasekara, government officials and university students were present at the occasion.
State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena says that measures have been taken to withdraw the emergency after conducting discussions with the commanders of the three armed forces and the acting Inspector General of Police. He adds that, therefore, lifting of the emergency status does not pose any threat on national security. State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena said that we have extended the emergency last time in order to provide security to the Kandy Perahera. There has been a request for assistance of the three armed forces and the police for the festival. The minister added that there is no need to prolong emergency law as the security situation in the country is improving conducively. He added that the tourism industry would be adversely affected in the event of the extension of the emergency status. Commanders of the tri-forces, the IGP and others who are engaged in the discussions have agreed that it is appropriate to withdraw the emergency. It has been pointed out that a weekend newspaper has reported in an incorrect manner over the issue of the withdrawal of the emergency law. The newspaper has published its report under the heading "Emergency Lifted and the Ban on Tawhid Jamaat Abolished." In addition, the newspaper report said 200 detained terrorists will be freed. Police media spokesman and Superintendent of Police Ruwan Gunasekara, convening a media briefing, said that the newspaper has published facts and erroneously regarding the issue. Police media spokesman and SP Ruan Gunasekara said that the news item has been published without any understanding of the law. It was announced in May of this year that 3 organizations were banned. He added that this ban will not have any impact on the non-extension of emergency or to investigations being conducted regarding the activities of these organizations. The minister further said that another false news was published. That was 200 terrorists will receive freedom due to withdrawal of the emergency law. All suspects arrested in connection with the April 21st attack are being detained under the legal provisions of the Prevention of Terrorism Provincial Act. He reiterated that therefore the non-extension of emergency law does not create any obstruction to the investigations on the April 21st attack, arrest and detention of terrorist suspects or banning of properties of terrorists. The President has prescribed the relevant 3 terrorist organizations through an extraordinary Gazette notification. Parliamentarian Dayasiri Jayasekara says that this ban will not be repealed with the lifting of emergency. Parliamentarian of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Dayasiri Jayasekara, said that the ban imposed on these 3 organizations does not relate only to the emergency situation. State Minister of Defence Ruan Vijayawardena says that, my apologies. He said that the President in his capacity as the Minister of Defence has issued a special Gazette notification declaring these organizations as banned organizations. Therefore, the lifting of emergency does not mean that the ban was abolished. For example, the ban imposed on the LTT organization remains. The decision does not prolong to the emergency that was taken according to a decision of the President to establish democracy and freedom. The President has ordered to grant authority to the Security Forces commanders to implement the law according to the impending situation.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka says that Sri Lankan rupee has been strengthened in comparison to the US dollar in the period from January 2019 to middle of this month by 3%. A communique issued by the Central Bank further says that the Sri Lankan rupee has been appreciated in relation to other main currencies, including the yen of Japan. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Finance says that exports have been increased by 4.7% and the imports decreased by 23.1%. The consumer investment and inter-commodity activities have been attributed to a decline in imports. The central bank adds that the results of a reduction in imports of several categories of consumer items, including private motor vehicles and non-food items, the consumer commodity exports expenditure has gone down by 39.4% in the June of this year. Due to decrease in fuel imports, the inner commodity import expenditure has also fallen by 11.1%. The Sri Lanka's foreign sector was reported to have further strengthened in June of this year due to receipts of foreign exchange through the international sovereign bonds and growth to gross reserves. The report also says in June of this year, deficit of trade has declined to $316 billion. This was the minimum value recorded since the October of 2010. Tourist earnings are gradually returning to normalcy following the impact of Easter Sunday attack. Accordingly, tourist earnings have increased by 66.8% in June of this year comparison to figure of May of this year. The central bank further points out in the first 6 months of this year, deficit in trade account has declined by $2,112 million to $3,597 million. In comparison, the trade deficit of 2018, the remittance of expatriate workers in the month of June has also gone up by 2.5% to $537 million.
Minister Sajid Premadasa says that a digital technological revolution should have to be commenced in Sri Lanka. It should be not restricted to Colombo but propagated in the villages as well. The minister made these remarks at an occasion of vesting with the general public the newly constructed Vavasaragama and Senanigama Udagammanas in Deyattakandiya, Ampara today. Minister Sajid Premadasa said that every village created will be turned into a green villages with forest cover. The digital technology of the modern world will be established in every village. The benefits of the digital revolution will be seen not only in the capital and major towns, but throughout the villages of the country. The minister added that the digital revolution will be implemented on the good earth. This digital technology would enable Sri Lanka to secure several development targets. As a result, the life of the farmer would become prosperous. The income sources of the fishing community will be enhanced. The labor-oriented technology will be strengthened through the information technology revolution. The minister further said that the benefits of the digital technology revolution will come to citizens of 6.1 families in every part of the country other than these 20,000 villages.
නව ඩිජිටල් සංවර්ධන විප්ලවයේ ප්‍රතිලාභීන් බවට පත් කරන්නට අපි කටයුතු කරනවායි කියලා මේ අවස්ථාවේ ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
These villages were the 262nd and 263rd model villages built under the Samata 7 Yalipibidena Udagammana program. A sum of 77.2 million rupees has been spent on the construction of 65 houses in the two villages. Several other programs were also conducted in parallel to this event. Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka says that the only president who has taken direct measures to provide an appropriate solution to refuse problems is President Maithripala Sirisena. The minister made these remarks at the ceremony to commence the construction of water pumping station in Uliyamulla, Paliagoda. The construction will be carried out as a remedy to the flood situation affecting Kelaniya and Vattala areas as a result of the overflowing of the Kelani River during rainy season. The cost of the construction of the pumping station based on local engineering technology amounts to 1,500 million rupees. The aim is to complete constructions by the end of 2020. Minister John Amarathunga, Parliamentarian Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca were among those who attended the ceremony. Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka said that 4 presidents in the past 40 years were unable to resolve the garbage problem of the country. However, the government of good governance is thankful to the president for not bowing down to the pressures of the false environmentalists over this issue. There had been 57 garbage mounds. The minister said that he is not looking at votes but on behalf of the future generation. The problems will be resolved in a scientific manner. The minister has also predicted that Paliagoda and Keravalapitia would become the most developed towns outside of Colombo upon resolution of the flood situation and completion of construction of highways and flyovers.
Meanwhile, 2 persons were killed in a shooting incident at Pahatgama, Hangvalla. The victims of the incidents were a businessman residing in Vidyalamawat, Pahatgama, and his driver. 2 gunmen who came in motorcycles were said to have launched the attack. The suspects have not yet been identified. Magisterial inquiry in this connection was conducted by Avisavella Acting Magistrate Sarath Jayawardena this evening. The 10 empty cartridges of a T-56 firearm and a magazine used in 9mm type weapon were found in police investigations. The investigations are continuing. Police media spokesman SP Ruan Gunasekara said that 2 criminals connected to the incident were reported to have arrived at the house of the victim. At this moment, the deceased was not in the house, therefore they have threatened the wife of the victim and asked her to give a telephone call to the victim to return to the house. Accordingly, the victim was brought to the house along with his driver. In this instance, the 2 criminals shot to death the owner of the house and his driver. In order to correctly identify the owner of the house, 2 suspects were reported to have used a video technology and called another person. The photograph in the house was shown to the caller to establish the identity of the victim. Thereafter, the killings have taken place. The police media spokesman added that further investigations are being conducted on the telephone call as well.
Newly appointed permanent representative of Sri Lanka has reaffirmed Sri Lanka's commitment towards the work of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organisation. The new permanent representative of Sri Lanka, the CTBTO, Saroja Sirisena, made these remarks while representing her credentials to the Executive Secretary of the organisation, Dr. Lassina Zerbo, recently. Ambassador Saroja Sirisena presented letters of credence to the Executive Secretary of the organization at the office of CTBTO in the Vienna International Center. During the interaction, the permanent representative commended the extensive work carried out by the CTBTO under the leadership of Dr. Lassina Zerbo to strengthen the technical capacities of the developing world. She highlighted the importance of Sri Lanka's inclusion in future CTBTO activities and reaffirmed Sri Lanka's commitment to the work of the organization. Dr. Zerbo appreciated Sri Lanka's participation to the activities of the CTBTO and invited Sri Lanka to be involved in the future activities of the organization. In her diplomatic career, Ambassador Saroja Sirisena served as the Consul General of Sri Lanka in Mumbai from 2014 to 2018 and held positions at Sri Lanka missions in Geneva, Brussels and Paris.
The 45th G7 summit concluded in France today. The attention of the G7 leaders was directed on several prevailing issues in the world, including the present situation in Libya. The Secretary General of United Nations, Antonio Guterres, will also participated in the final day discussions of the summit. The 45th G7 summit was commenced on last Saturday in France. The leaders of USA, Britain, Germany, Japan, Canada and France took part in the three-day summit. French President Emmanuel Macron has said that the G7 leaders have discussed and agreed to provide technical and financial help to fight the fires in the Amazon rainforest. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister made a brief and unannounced visit to the G7 summit. He then attended sideline talks with the G7 leaders, including the US president. Reports have suggested that the US delegation was surprised by his visit at a time of high tensions between US and Iran. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also took part in the G7 summit as a special guest. Indian Prime Minister held bilateral meetings with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on the sidelines of the G7 summit. In the meantime, German Chancellor Angela Merkel posed for photos with public near the hotel she was staying for the G7 summit in France. At what could be the possibly be her last G7 summit, also the spouses of leaders of G7 countries visited a small village in French country yesterday.
Indonesia's President Joko Widodo has announced that the country's capital will be moved to the province of East Kalimantan on the island of Borneo. The current capital, Jakarta, home to more than 10 million people, is sitting on a swampy land and is one of the fastest sinking cities in the world. More than 10 million people resides in Jakarta, with an estimated 30 million in the greater metropolitan area, making the city one of the world's most overpopulated and overpolluted urban regions. Jakarta is also one of the fastest sinking cities, dropping into the Java Sea at an alarming rate due to an over-extraction of groundwater and constant flooding. Ongoing researchers have suggested that 95% of the North Jakarta would be submerged by 2050. Subsequently, Indonesia's President Joko Widodo has announced that the country's capital will be moved to an area on the island of Borneo. The cost of the ambitious project to move to the capital has been estimated around 32 billion US dollars, and the project is expected to commence next year. The Indonesian government is set to fund 19% of the total cost of the project, with the rest to be gained from public-private partnership and private investment. We now take you around Asia in a minute.
That U.S. companies should...
Asian stock markets tumbled today after a sharp escalation in the U.S.-China trade war rattled investors. U.S. President Donald Trump announced tariff hikes effectively on all Chinese imports to the U.S. on last Friday. The main structure of China's largest span and loading capability suspension bridge was completed recently in southwest China's Chongqing municipality. The bridge, built for the transportation of natural gas, is 467 meters long. Missionaries of Charity, the global order of nuns founded by Saint Teresa, marked her 109th birth anniversary of the Nobel Peace Laureate with prayers today. She was one of the most influential women in the churches of the 2,000-year history. Flowers, fruits and animals flooded the streets of Davao City, Philippines in a floral float parade to celebrate the annual Kadayavan Festival. The festival is meant to celebrate the rich flora and fauna of the region.
The President Award for Scientific Publication was held under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena today. The event has been organized by the National Research Council for the 12th consecutive year. The award presentation is being conducted with the objective of encouraging scientists, researchers and technicians to conduct scientific experiments of local importance. The work of more than 240 professors and other doctoral holders who were engaged in scientific experiments of higher standards in the fields of medicine, agriculture and engineering fields in the year 2017 were evaluated in this occasion. A group including Minister Sujiva Singha and Chairman of the National Research Council, Professor Janaka De Silva, have also participated in the ceremony.
Now, our correspondent says that there has been a significant growth in the arrival of tourists to the Pothuil beach in Ampara. The sport of surfing has become popular among foreigners visiting in the area. Here's what we captured. We have observed that a strong liking to enjoy natural beauty has been shown by most of the foreigners. With the prevailing sea waves, the foreigners are having the opportunity to engage in training in the sport throughout the day. The Sri Lankan police also extends assistance to the tourists engaged in training in the beach. Our correspondents say that the foreigners were engaged in purchasing goods from boutiques in Arugambe, Pothuil, even at night. The tourists say that there is maximum protection and freedom in the country.
I can say it's the most beautiful place on earth. It's like paradise here. You have beautiful views, a lot of nature. I saw monkeys and elephants, and there is a good and big safari here. You can go by a jeep in Yala. It's very safe. You have lifeguards on the beach. A good way for surfers. If you want to surf, it's the best place. So Sri Lanka is very secure. You have policemen all over the places. When we went to the road, every few meters we have police checking, seeing everything is fine.
It's really safe. You feel every time I'm really safe everywhere. Yeah.
I really like Sri Lanka. There's a lot of really interesting nature, a lot of wildlife that is really very beautiful. And the surfing's really, really good. And I really like it here, and I'm definitely coming back to see more of the country.
Meanwhile, today was the 4th day of the Jaffna District Program Series on Rupavahini Ekata National Program. Many programs were conducted today as well, with the participation of a large number of people. A food security program on behalf of the people of Karinagar Divisional Division has been organized through the mediation of the Presidential Secretariat. People in the area have eagerly participated in the program held at the Cultural Center of Karinagar. The participants were educated on several issues, including storage of harvest. A mobile service was also conducted on behalf of the poor people in Uduville, Valikamam. The people were provided with necessary documents such as the national identity card and birth certificates. 3 water purification systems centering on divisional secretariats have been set up. Cost of each system is 4 million rupees. 16 such systems are scheduled to be set up throughout Jaffna district. Life-saving programs for people in Karinagar Divisional Secretariat Division was conducted by the Department of Coastal Conservation. They have been conducted in the Kansunari beach.
A report has been presented to the 4th Magistrate Courts today pertaining to the misappropriation of state funds by the former Secretary to the Ministry of Ports and Highways. According to the report submitted by the Police Financial Crimes Investigation Division, the former Secretary had purchased ships in the years 2010 and 15 by paying a price higher than the value of these vessels. The FCID has informed the courts that they have investigated bank accounts and computers of the then Secretary of Ports and Highways Ranjit Premasiri and his family members to inquire into the alleged misuse of funds in the purchasing of the vessel that is called Ceylon Breeze Princess. The report further states that the large-scale money circulation and property buying have been revealed in the investigation. The magistrate has granted permission to a request made by the police to investigate the bank accounts of a head of a Chinese company which purchased the ship and the son of that official. According to a valuation conducted by a company in England, the two ships were purchased for $35 million when the actual value was $20 million. Therefore, the FCID has informed the courts that a loss of $15 million to the state was incurred in the transaction. A case filed by General Secretary of the All Ceylon Agricultural Research Production Assistant Officers Association Jagat Kumar against statement made by SP Dissanayake in a media briefing in 2017 was withdrawn today. The case had been filed regarding a statement of SP Dissanayake stating that Jagat Kumar had not fulfilled educational qualifications. Similarly, a case filed by Jagat Kumar regarding the misuse of Samurdhi Fund was also withdrawn today.
The all shares price index closed at 5,881.72 points, dropping by 16.75 points, and the S&P SL20 index closed at 2,891.72 points, dropping by 11.08 points at the end of trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange today. The turnover was 281 million rupees. Here is a summary of today's market details of the CSE.
And to bring you the details from the Met Department, the showers or thunder showers will occur in western, central, Sabaragamuwa, southern and northwestern provinces. Light showers may occur in the Anuradhapura district. Showers or thunder showers will occur at a few places in Uva province and Ampara and Batticaloa districts after 2 p.m. Fairly heavy falls, about 50 to 75 millimeters, are likely at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa, southern and central provinces. Wind speed can be increased up to 50 kilometers per